Hello, Alabama. When Greg McElroy talks about Alabama, he's not just offering a tip. He knows the program inside out, what it means to wear a Crimson Tide uniform, and understands that a 9-4 season doesn't define the team's future. On the contrary, for a program of this caliber, a transitional year like 2024 serves as a warning to opponents. Alabama is regrouping, and when that happens, the rest of the country should take notice. McElroy got right to the point when he pointed out what makes Alabama a strong candidate for a bounce-back season. And it all starts with the return of players who could very well have gone on to the NFL but chose to stay in Tuscaloosa. That says a lot about the culture Kalen DeBoer is building. When players buy into the project and want to be part of something bigger, it means Alabama still has winning DNA. It's not just about talent, and we know there's never a shortage of talent there. It's a matter of mindset, of leadership in the locker room, and McElroy made it clear that this is one of the biggest reasons for his optimism for the Tide. Another key point he highlighted is the strength of the defense. 9 returning starters, many of them still young, but with enough experience to turn this group into a dominant unit. If there's one thing that has always set Alabama apart from other teams, it's the ability to have suffocating defenses. And now, with a year of experience for last season's rookies, this department has everything it needs to become a differentiator again. But the detail that perhaps caught McElroy's attention the most was the arrival of Ryan Grubb as offensive coordinator. Those who follow Grubb's work know that he has a history of building explosive offenses, and his partnership with DeBoer has yielded results before. That can't be understated. The Tide has the right pieces to make this offense take off, and the combination of a solid defense and a more dynamic offense could be exactly what the program needs to rewrite its history in 2025. Of course, McElroy acknowledged that the schedule won't be easy. But when has Alabama ever had an easy path? Challenges are where this program thrives. And if there's one thing the Crimson Tide does better than any other team, it's bounce back after a subpar season. The message was clear: Alabama isn't wallowing in what happened in 2024. On the contrary, it's preparing to respond on the field. And if McElroy is right, and he has good reason to be, that response could come in full force in 2025. Let's move on. If anyone understands the problems caused by field invasions in the SEC, it's Greg Byrne. The Alabama athletic director has seen the Crimson Tide suffer 3 invasions in 2024. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma have all turned their wins over Bama into veritable festivals on the field. But the problem goes beyond the humiliation of watching your opponents celebrate in front of you. There are safety issues, financial losses, and a feeling that the current penalties simply aren't enough to stop this from happening again. Byrne isn't alone in this thought, and his suggestion of a more drastic measure to curb the problem is striking. If fans invade the field, the home team loses the game right there and then. Sound radical? Yes. But that's exactly the intention. The SEC already imposes heavy fines, but it's clear that this doesn't intimidate fans. Oklahoma, for example, was fined $200,000 for 2 invasions in the same game. Did this keep fans from getting on the field? Not at all. So why not change what really matters to the programs, the results on the field? Of course, this idea won't be easy to implement. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey himself called the proposal difficult, but acknowledged that Byrne isn't alone in thinking so. After all, what could be more effective in deterring fans than the threat of an automatic loss? Imagine a team beating a historic rival and its fans knowing that if they invaded the field, their victory would instantly turn into a loss. It simply wouldn't be worth the risk. But Byrne knows the league isn't likely to take this action anytime soon. Still, he insists that something needs to be done. Increased security? That might help, but holding back thousands of excited fans is no easy task. Fines? We've seen that they don't solve the problem. The problem lies at the root, preventing fans from initially moving onto the field. And Byrne has a valid point. People say it's just a celebration, but it only takes a moment of confusion to turn this party into a dangerous situation. Players and coaches can get caught up in the chaos, fans can get hurt, and the damage to programs can continue to mount. Ultimately, the SEC needs to decide how serious it is willing to be about this issue. If this continues, Alabama will continue to be a favorite target. And for a program accustomed to winning, the only real way to stop field invasions may be to return to dominating the SEC. Because let's be honest, no one invades the field after losing to the Crimson Tide. Alabama's 2025 running game is about to undergo a transformation under Ryan Grubb. If there's one thing that defines Grubb as an offensive strategist, it's his ability to adapt his schemes to the talent at hand. And for the Crimson Tide, he has a unique challenge, rebuilding a running attack that lost Jalen Milroe and Justice Haynes, two of last season's leading rushing yardage producers. The departure of Milroe, who alone accounted for more than a third of the Tide's runs in 2024, means Alabama will no longer have a quarterback who provides the same consistent threat on the ground. That alone changes the equation. The new QB, whoever it is, likely won't have the same impact on the ground game, which puts even more responsibility on the running backs. And Grubb has shown throughout his career that he knows how to work in those situations. Grubb's offenses have historically been at the extremes. There have been times when his focus has been on a run-heavy approach, such as in Sioux Falls, when his offensive line paved the way for a dominant ground attack. But in recent years, particularly under Michael Penix Jr. in Washington, we've seen a Grubb who prioritizes the passing game, building offenses that attempt at least 10 more passes per game than they do runs. So how does that translate to Alabama? First, it's unlikely we'll see the Tide repeat the approach they took in 2024, when they averaged 10 more runs than passes per game. The offense should become more balanced, with a game plan geared toward opening up space for the running backs without relying solely on them. Grubb's style suggests we'll see a more creative system, utilizing different blocking concepts, pre-snap movements, and even an increase in the use of running backs as occasional receivers. This could be great news for Jam Miller and Richard Young, who are expected to carry the load at the position in 2025. Miller led the group in 2024 but ended the season on a down note. Now, he'll have a chance to reassert himself as the centerpiece of the backfield. Young, meanwhile, comes with pedigree and could benefit from Grubb's style of running multiple backs, something Alabama has done in recent seasons. Another interesting question is how the running backs will be utilized in the passing game. If we look at Grubb's offenses in the past, RBs have never been a big factor as receivers, with the exception of Ronnie Rivers in 2019. But for Alabama, with a new quarterback taking over, a short passing game involving the backs could become a valuable asset to alleviate pressure on the starter. Ultimately, the Tide's running game in 2025 should look different than what we've seen in recent years, but that doesn't mean it will be any less effective. If Grubb can successfully implement his philosophy, Alabama could have a more dynamic and unpredictable offense, something that could be key to regaining its top spot in the SEC. Two recruits Bama is eyeing that are very interesting for the team. Alabama's recruiting continues to be strong under Kalen DeBoer, and two five-star prospects are on the Crimson Tide's radar for the 2026 class, wide receiver Cedarian Morgan and linebacker Anthony Jones. Both are elite talents who could directly impact the program's future, and Alabama is doing everything it can to secure their signatures. Cedarian Morgan, 5-star WR. If there's one recruiting prospect who seems to have Alabama DNA, it's Cedarian Morgan. A native of the state with a family full of Crimson Tide fans, he has all the makings of a dominant wide receiver at the college level. He combines size, explosiveness, and refined route running ability, a combination that makes him one of the most complete receivers in the 2026 class. Alabama's interest in Morgan is no secret. The entire offensive staff recently visited with the player, a move that shows how much of a priority he is for the future of the offense. The Tide is a top 10 prospect, and if DeBoer and his staff can convince him to stay home, Morgan has the potential to become a key player in Alabama's passing attack for years to come. Morgan's versatility is what makes him so special. He can beat defenders both at the line of scrimmage and in the air, using his height to pull down contested balls. Plus, his ability after the catch adds an extra layer to his game, making him a complete threat to any offense. If Alabama can secure this commitment, they will be adding a potential star to their wide receiver group. Anthony Jones, 5-star LB. If Morgan is a key player for the future of the offense, Anthony Jones could be the piece that solidifies the Tide defense under Kane Womack. From day one of the DeBoer era, Jones was identified as a top target, and the coaching staff has been in constant contact to build a solid relationship with the linebacker. Jones is being recruited for the Wolf position, a crucial role in Womack's defense. Wolf is a versatile linebacker who moves around the defensive scheme and can be used in both coverage and quarterback pressure. With his length, athleticism, and game intelligence, Jones fits this mold perfectly. What stands out about Jones is his ability to read the game and lateral quickness. He has the strength to handle blockers at the line of scrimmage, but also the explosiveness needed to cover tight ends and running backs in the air. That kind of versatility is exactly what Alabama needs to maintain its defense as one of the most dynamic in the country. Jones' recruitment is still open, but Alabama has made a strong impact since DeBoer's arrival. The linebacker has already highlighted how he enjoys frequent contact with the Tide's coaching staff, which could be a deciding factor in his selection. Securing Morgan and Jones would be a double whammy for the Crimson Tide. On the one hand, Morgan would give DeBoer an elite weapon on offense, someone who could become the offensive reference in a system that promises to be explosive. On the other, Jones would be a key piece for the defense, bringing physicality and intelligence to a sector that has always been the foundation of Alabama's success. The recruiting work is not yet complete, but one thing is certain: Alabama is fully committed to maintaining its dominance on the national scene. And if it can bring these two talents to Tuscaloosa, the future of the Crimson Tide will continue to be bright. What do you think? Comment below.